Have you ever scrolled through LinkedIn and you saw a job posting that you also saw like 3 months ago that's still there? Then again, 6 months prior to that, you also saw that job opening. It's bound to make the gears turn about.
Or maybe you spend hours on applications just to get an immediate nah within an hour from the applicant tracking system, or you just never hear back.
All right, so today we're talking about something that many Americans can relate to. That's right. We're talking about job search burnout.
And we're going to show you how to spot the hidden burnout traps, deceptive role descriptions, and blatant company lies before the culmination of all of that wears you down, giving you a heads up so you know what to look for.
So let's first define a job search burnout. It's the mental and physical buildup of fatigue, frustration, and the loss of motivation from repeated applications, rejections, or even the lack of feedback that you're getting from all the work you're putting in. So basically, it's all the stress of having a toxic job without getting that bi-weekly check.
And it really is the lack of communication that gets me. Like crickets, silence, how you mentioned lack of feedback. That really gets me with the application process these days. We put in so much effort, folks are putting in so much effort, they expend their time, sanity, and sometimes money, right?
Definitely.
Or trying to land a job, but then the company treats candidates like they're ones and O's in a database. It's crazy.
It is
wild.
crazy. It's so crazy.
It's a different game that we're playing now.
For real, truly, it's like, where did the humanity go? Like, there used to be a little bit. Like, did we all forget that we're all humans? It seems like we're just in very...
Yeah. Was there humanity? So let's get into why this topic is really important. And ultimately, searching for a job should serve your purpose, right? Not to drain you. And make sure you're not killing yourself over a role that you haven't even landed.
So in today's episode, we're spotting some red and maybe a little bit of green flags and how to identify ghost and data harvesting job posts, and also learn how to set boundaries in the job search.
Boundaries are super important. And today we're going to offer you that reframe. Apply smarter, not harder.
All right, so let's hop into our next segment. Let's talk about this illusion of opportunity that we're all being sold right now. So these job boards, right? How they provide this endless scroll of jobs that aren't even there. We've all seen it. For me, the Deloitte role that just keeps getting reposted, or even that Accenture job post that's been up for, 9-10 months. Let's get real, right? Many, if not all, are duplicates, they're outdated, and just straight up data harvesting.
Yeah, don't get me started on the algorithmic dynamics, because these job boards and these job sites like LinkedIn, it's very wild about this in particular, right? It's all about who's paying for the ad space rather than whether or not you're going to get the role or whether it's real. Ghost jobs, as you mentioned. It's very apparent that engagement is prioritized over accuracy and honesty. The LinkedIn CEO actually said that they're prioritizing ad space and watching it convert. And so we're essentially watching LinkedIn turn into Facebook as they prioritize ad space. So we preface this because we are instructed to go to LinkedIn, right? Create your career profiles. Your resume now lives on LinkedIn. I remember when I was in college over 10 years ago, LinkedIn is where you get your job searching. So this is what we're told to do. We experience this very confusing process that's really outdated and now about ad space. So let's talk more about that.
Yeah, super outdated. I mean, in another episode, we can talk about how they're like, we don't want resumes anymore, which is crazy. Here's some super common red flags, and the opposite will definitely be the green flags, right? Vague role titles, innovation Sherpa, or director of first impressions, which is, I'm assuming, customer service. Is so vague. It's like, what?
The Sherpa still gets me.
Yeah, innovation. So also total reward specialist, which some people listening, that might actually be their job if they're in HR, because it's just compensation and benefits.
Rewards.
Such a reward to work there. Yeah. Anyways, just say what you mean, right? Just say what you mean on these job posts. Also, buzzwords like wearing many hats, or fast-paced environment. Like those two are that definitely means you're going to be doing more than you sign. Wearing many hats means you're going to be doing like 5 jobs for one paycheck.
Yeah.
Fast-paced environment means you need to be on call all the time.
Yeah. And something tells me there's going to be a lot of false urgency in those organizations. So that's a translation, yeah? When you read those things, what really should be standing out is false urgency and probably poor boundaries.
Definitely. Right. So, and there's also the classic we're like a family jargon that is so prevalent still. Like we know what that means. There's also like these unrealistic expectations that are in these job postings, like messaging from like roles assigned as needed. I've seen that. I've applied for and got a job like that, and it was not good at all. I mean, those roles assigned as needed, just they kept needing the assignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, no pay transparency. Like, tell me how much you're gonna pay me. I feel like this is the biggest red flag. It indicates that you plan on attempting to pay me unfairly no matter what, right? So, or even giant gaps in a pay scale. That to me is like no pay transparency because the scale from like 50K is basically the same thing as saying like whatever.
Yeah, that's wild. The compensation packages that are presented nowadays are pretty interesting. But to be honest, pay transparency should be an automatic thing. Government requirement or, just basic standard.
That'd be nice.
In California, they made it law or, they're trying, but still not everyone complies. And that's where we get into like HR being all about compliance. That's an area that I would love compliance in. Why aren't they focusing on that?
It's the same in Colorado as well.
Well, something in common. But then again, what can we expect from a system that makes up pay? It makes us pay for healthcare without receiving the price of care services before the services begin. So we live in a place where they just like to bill us later, sign before. And we want you to be mindful about that. Don't sign before, learn, do your research. There's, in addition to that, right, doing the research and fact finding, there's a true emotional toll that comes out from applying without a response, right? So not only are you spending likely hours at a time researching for a job, looking at the red flags that we're telling you, and then you don't hear back. So applying until the day's end and never knowing if any of it will reach anyone on the other side, like, can anyone hear me? That's often what it feels like, right? I know that I've experienced that plenty of times.
I think we all have. Yeah. Another thing to watch out for when it comes to the job search burnout of it all, there's also like this LinkedIn comparison trap that happens again and again. They say we're supposed to use it, right? So people are on it to find their jobs, and seeing others like essentially like win and not the watchers, like while you feel stuck is like kind of wild, right? Like the common goal of social media in general is to make you feel smaller than what you really are, especially since LinkedIn is kind of turning into Facebook. We can kind of predict the trend that's going to happen because we've already seen it. So let's be real, right? The system itself contributes to all this burnout.
Yeah. And so often we're burning out before we even start the job. So now we're going to get into our next segment, which is consulting the research. Farra and I love to talk to you about the data. So, all right, let's get into consulting the research, which, for the data and job search burnout, what does that look like? I feel like I've seen a lot of pains about modern job search in the news lately. So not even within inner circles, not even my own observations, but also in the news, right? It's becoming a widespread thing that folks are struggling to find jobs right now. And the job search is pretty difficult. It's not how our parents and our older siblings or older generations may have applied to jobs. Like the game has changed. And I'm also doing field research, applying myself because I like to stay up to date with the trends. And I gotta tell you, I've applied to a couple of jobs and don't hear back. And so I do that because it's interesting to see that it's continuing to happen. And we're talking about stuff that we're actually researching and actively looking at right now. And I can tell you that I've applied to several jobs and don't hear back. And that is something that I want to really point out as a thing for organizations to do better. Really do better there. A simple email. It's not that hard. Not that hard.
Yeah, you can not get yourself into a lawsuit and also still bring some humanity to the job search by giving a simple.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you're not wrong about anything you just said. All of us have probably experienced this. So, let's talk about these troubling statistics when it comes to the job search burnout. All right. So, like, over half of job seekers report feeling burnt out. It's seemingly a lot more normal than we all think because we're not talking to each other about it. According to Insight Global, 55% of unemployed US adults report burnout during the job search. Also, Staffing Hub, they report 66% of job searchers are experiencing burnout, which is wild that both of those numbers are over 50%. A part of me feels like that's a bit of an underreporting. Long-term job seekers, people who've been seeking for like years, since the pandemic.
Wild.
Yeah. Like
Wild.
there are burnout symptoms, like long-term burnout symptoms that show up like back pain or like constant and persistent emotional outbursts, just wild things occur when it comes to this job search and participating in this economy in general. We even have LinkedIn talking about this, right? So they've even posted some statistics on ghost jobs. And it revealed something pretty crazy. So, from their own personal findings, which, a company researching themselves is always iffy, 36% of job listings on the site that they host and own may be ghost jobs, which to me means that like well over 36%, probably double the amount of those are ghost jobs, which is so troubling and seems against the business model. But here we go. So let's link this back into some concepts that we've already talked about in previous episodes. There's this like learned helplessness and cognitive fatigue that occurs when you continue doing this over and over and over again. These aren't just my words. Johns Hopkins actually feels the same way because they're also digging into the research of it all because this is obviously affecting everybody, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And of course, you can find all these links in the description.
So now more than ever, it's crazy to hear that we even have ghost jobs. It's important to have a mental health protection strategy for the job search process because it's not changing. The trend is showing, instead of getting better, and this is why I'm calling out organizations, be better. Let's be honest, it's important to have a mental health protection strategy, period. And so that means that you are actually considering how you're going into the job search and you're being mindful about that instead of reacting to what's going on, right? Farah mentioned the learned helplessness that gets internalized and it can turn into what's wrong with me or why am I not getting hired or, all that stuff. So it's super important and we're going to go ahead and, tell you some things that you can do for your mental health protection as you're going into your job search process.
So here's a little strategy session for everybody. Here's some practical tools and maybe offer some little mind shifts that you guys can use. So you can use the green and red flag system. If you need, you can rewind this episode and re-listen to the red flags that we mentioned in the job postings. Anything that doesn't have those words in there is definitely a green flag and you should go for it. If they have pay transparency, that is typically a green flag. But if they also say assignments as needed, then maybe that's more of a yellow flag. So just keep those things in mind. Some boundaries and strategies. You can batch your applications. We have AI now. Everybody's using it, even the recruiters. So you can do 2 to 3 sessions a week, not every day, because that's wild. Your brain needs a break. This helps you not be online and constantly scrolling. This also digs into those time boundaries that we've discussed in previous episodes. You can also use tools like Teal or Hunter. I've used Hunter in the past for tracking applications. And maybe that'll help you stay sane. Or if you're like me and you find that very daunting to be able to look back and see all of those rejections, don't track your applications. Just do it and keep flowing.
Do it and keep flowing.
Yeah, just do it and keep flowing.
Mm-hmm. I like the sound of that. Just keep flowing.
Yeah. Also, this is super important for me in everything that I do. Apply the energy return on interest rule. So if it drains you more than it's worth, skip it. Work smarter, not harder.
Put it. Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Work smarter, not harder. And, always verify authenticity, right? Like, that's super important. It's a real thing, guys. You're hearing it from us. Ghost jobs are a real thing. So that makes it that much more important for us to do more research, which sucks. But authenticity via LinkedIn, triangulate. What that means is that you're looking at the company site, you're looking at people who may be working there, you're looking at other sites like Glassdoor. You want to make sure, if you want to find out if it's real, look at multiple points to see, does that job exist? My go-to is going to the company site and then looking for their careers. There's usually a career link that you can see for open positions. And so this is kind of like data verification so that you're not wasting time clicking on a ghost link, applying, and then you don't know what's going to happen. You never hear back. That can end up wasting time, resources. And so again, working smarter, not harder. No response is a response.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that one again. No response is a response. If we're hearing crickets, is that a place that you want to work for? I ask you that, right? So I'm going to, preface this that there are coaches and people that will say that this is a good practice and it may work with a small number of people. But insight from people behind the scenes, like this gap can be a signal of the fuckery that you're going to experience inside. So always being mindful. And I've really taken that as a life philosophy, right? No response is a response. That is still information for you. And more of that information to go ahead and move forward if you're not hearing back. Protecting boundaries. That means no late night job searching. I know that it can get super difficult, especially if you're trying to find alternate jobs or fill in your job right now if you don't have a job. But at the same time, all of that can lead to burnout. So being mindful, as Farra mentioned, of the time that you're actually using into applying and batching it up. And that might mean no late night job searching, taking care of yourself instead. Or if that's the only time you can do it, make sure that you time yourself and not go past midnight or doing this.
Give yourself an hour.
Yes, time it, all you can do during that time, and then continue the next day so that you don't burn out or experience more of the negative emotions and energy and feelings that come up from the job search, which is insane right now. Secondly, or next, is to reclaim your identity, right? You are a professional in transition, not just an applicant. I think a lot of times the identity gets lost when you do it over and over. Maybe you have the credentials, you have the certifications, you have the year experience, but you're still not hearing back. It can really shake up your identity. And I've also read and experienced, and from friends as well, you've done this before, right? So you have the proof, the evidence that you can do this job. And so you're going to start to wonder, why can't I get a job after years of applying? And so that's really when you have to protect your boundaries, your own energy. It's not you. It's really the system and the environment. And we want to help you discern and be able to see what that looks like so that you don't burn out and this doesn't become your second job. And then lastly, what I'll mention is the pick me energy, right? What this comes up for me is, I remember when we had to follow up so much to job postings, right? You have to find a hiring manager, you have to find someone inside, and we still hear that level of advice, right? Find someone who works there, see if they can connect you, etc., etc. But a lot of that, to me, screams pick me energy, right? It's the folks who are really putting all of their in and doing all the extra, walking and doing the extra mile before even getting hired. So once upon a time, I used to do that myself, but it feels very extra to me, and we're not getting paid for any of that. And so why are we engaging in that? So that's a lot of extra work that I think, we can be mindful of how much of that additional extra work we want to do for the job search, because at the end of the day, it's just an application, right? It's an application and we should treat it as the application.
Definitely. And also, like, some of these recruiters and hiring managers, they ignore those messages anyway. So that strategy only works maybe 10% of the time for a very select group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So not all strategies work, but it is time to wrap it up. I know this was a bit of a short episode. We know all you job seekers are busy. So if you're seeking any support in your burnout journey to recovery, you can find my ebook on Etsy at Burnout SS, or you can find me at burnoutsupportsociety.com. You can go ahead and book a free 15-minute consultation. If you're on LinkedIn, you can reach out to me in the DM, because guess what? You're not broken. The system definitely is. So give yourself some grace.
So much grace. And if you need coaching or community through this process, job hunt, job searching, job transitions, I do coaching and we have community support over at thrivinghuman.life. So www.thrivinghuman.life. And lastly, join Burnout Meets Thriving. We are on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and we are now on Instagram. So this is not just the Farra and Miriam show. This is the Farra, Miriam, and everyone in the workplace who's interested in the workplace revolution. Join us, talk to us, let us know what you want to hear, what topics you want to discuss. We are your resident IO and organizational leadership people, and we got you.
That's right. So if you found this episode interesting and you know someone who might be in need of this little energy check, share this episode, follow us on LinkedIn, and continue the conversation with us.